a new week, it's a new day, it's a new episode of Daybreak on Trust TV. Good morning and welcome to another edition. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. It's another day for us, to take on the week, to start the week afresh and, do whatever it is that we believe in. And of course, I'm not alone in the studio today.
I am Abdulaziz. Good morning. It is a beautiful day. And welcome to a new week.
Yeah. Good morning, Abdulaziz. Now, it feels like a really, really long time from last week, Monday, to to today.
Yeah.
It feels like a really, really long time.
It does feel
yeah,
so.
like the days dragged for a really, really long time, probably because of the fuel scarcity.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Because, when there is hardship, things get, appear very long. But of course, if things are normal and maybe if people are having it smoothly, then you'll see the days running very fast. So I think it's actually because of the really grueling fuel scarcity that I can say it spoiled the week.
Not just the fuel scarcity, it doesn't seem like things are actually getting better. Because there was a point in time when we all had hopes, that, something will be done about some certain things. But instead, we keep seeing them reoccurring and at an alarming rate.
Exactly. Especially talking of security, things keep going back and forth. As you said, you'll expect improvement and then you'll see things coming back again. And of course, the inflation, don't talk about that one, as they say, because
it's biting really
crazy.
hard.
It's crazy. It has really depleted the purchasing power of a lot of Nigerians, most of Nigerians, because now, if your salary is maybe 100,000, by the time it's 50,000 to the market,
100,000 naira at this time is approximately.
Yeah,
it's just like you having 20,000 naira.
Yeah,
honestly, if you ask me, it's like you having 20,000 naira.
By the time
because you don't get to see the value of your money.
That's true.
It's just in paper.
The price is just too much. Last week on the program, one of our guests was talking about beef. Now a kilo was 2,700. So I hadn't been to the market by then, but during the week when we went to the market, I saw that.
You saw that
she was indeed talking
it's crazy.
factual.
All right, let's take a look at the headlines this morning. Tension grips residents as terrorists take over communities around Niger state capital.
Soludo visits IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, calls for restoration of peace in Anambra.
I have not resigned, says Amechi. And with that, we'll move on to the details of the stories. Terrorists have reportedly taken over communities between Mutan Air and Gunu in Serkin Power Road, Munya local government area of Niger State. These communities are about 20 kilometers from Minna, the Niger State capital. Speaking on the latest attack, a resident, Shehu Abubakar, told our correspondent that the attackers operated at Chibani, Kuchi, and Injita and Guada axis when communities were still observing their early morning prayers. He said they operated unchallenged from 5:30 a.m. till around 11 a.m. The terrorists were said to have later moved to communities between Mutan Air and Gunu, 10 minutes drive from Minna, the state capital. Commenting on the incident, a resident said, "No place is safe for us again. Mutan Air communities where many of our women ran to due to previous attacks. Mutan Air to Minna will just take you 10 minutes at least and is presently under attack by terrorists," the person quoted. Travelers flying Gunu, Mutan Air, Guada, Sedkim Power and adjoining villages are trapped as the roads was reportedly unsafe on Sunday morning. Mutan Air is also the town connecting to Kuta, the headquarters of Shiroro local government, Guada and Zumba housing camps with hundreds of internally displaced persons from Munya and Shiroro local government areas.
Moving on, the Anambra State Governor, Charles Soludo, has on Friday visited the detained leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The governor, whose visit was part of a wider consultation with critical stakeholders in search of lasting peace and security in the southeast, said that the IPOB leader was in very high spirits. Nnamdi Kanu, who expressed sadness over the loss of lives and properties in the southeast, called for restoration of peace in the state. He described the numerous deaths as sacrilegious killings of innocent persons, kidnapping, and all forms of criminalities, including the brutal enforcement of the sit-at-home order perpetuated by sundry groups claiming to be acting for or on behalf of IPOB. The IPOB leader noted that if opportunity arises, he will be glad to personally broadcast to his followers to maintain peace.
All right, and finally, Rotimi Amechi, Minister of Transportation, says he is still a member of the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. Amechi, who is among the 10 ministers whom Buhari bade farewell on Friday, announced this in Kaduna State on Sunday. After the valedictory session held for ministers who were eyeing elective seats in 2023, two of those who were part of the session backtracked, while Chris Ngige, who declares interest in succeeding Buhari, withdrew from the presidency race. Abubakar Malami, Attorney General of the Federation, also opted out of the Kebbi governorship race. On his part, Amechi said he will resign on Monday. He told delegates of the state that he is young and the most experienced of all the presidential aspirants, adding that the presidency requires agility of a young man, hence the elderly people should go home and rest. And with this, we wrap up the highlights for this hour. Now, moving on to more reports. One of the easiest ways of identifying a person is by their names. The importance of this means of identification makes it imperative that once a child is born, they're given one. In this report, Trust TV's Kabir Lawal examines the importance of names and its significance.
To many, names are just an identification tag that carries no more significance or effect than naming who the bearer is, while others believe there is more to name that meets the eye. However, in African context, naming is a very important tool used among various cultures to convey certain messages, either to an individual, family members, or a community.
Amarachi means the grace of God. As a child growing up, I was always sick, so it took grace that I survived. My mom didn't really believe that I would live up to this age, so I feel like it's a name that follows me. The grace of God has always been around me. Well, we should be careful of names. It's just like the words we speak. It goes a long way in the children's life. So just like your words, the names has effect as well.
Some respondents believe that African children also receive a second name believed to be prayers, hope for the future, unnamed expectations, and parental aspirations. Names are also given based on geographic environment, religious beliefs, as well as past experiences. The chosen name may even offer insight into important cultural or socio-political events at that time.
Oh, my name is Gospel Ramajo.
So what is the meaning of your name?
Gospel Ramajo is like someone that represents the glory of God. God's glory. Then Omojo means child of God. Then Edibo is servant of God. Edibo is servant of a king. You understand? So there are these persons in our village that stands behind the king. So those persons, they call them Edibo. So they are servant of a king. But being born into a Christian family will now change into servant of God because we are standing behind God as his servants. So I feel every parent should just be conscious of giving their child good names that will represent what they really want in their child.
In modern African culture, naming ceremonies are celebrations that formally introduce a child to the world, its community, and announces the infant's name and meanings of the said names.
The name is of paramount importance in our society, which goes a long way to make the bearer good ambassador of the nation. He added that most time individuals change names that will have adverse effects on the bearer.
My name is Said Razak.
Said Razak.
Yeah.
So what is the meaning of your name?
The meaning of my name is, according to what I hear, is Anobi Said, it's prophet of Allah. I have Babatunde.
You have Babatunde?
Yeah.
Why do they call you Babatunde?
It's because my grandpa late. That's why they call me Babatunde.
One classic case of the impact of a name on a person's life is name Good Luck, which many Nigerians believe contributed to the meteoric rise of ex-President Jonathan from political oblivion to the zenith of politics in Nigeria. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Well,
our names, no, before we actually move on, our names are actually, a very important part of our identity.
Yeah, it is.
Can you imagine yourself bearing any other name aside Abdulaziz's?
I didn't expect that question.
Exactly. Have you thought about it?
Actually, the name is really very personal and very important identity. Not only answering a different name, even for me personally, even spellings, for example, the way I spell my name, I don't, if I see any other spelling, I say, this is not me.
Exactly. It gives us, a sense of identity.
Exactly.
Imagine if your name was like Mubarak or something. If I called you Mubarak, would you answer me?
No, of
because,
course not.
it's not your name and you don't identify with that particular name. So it's very, very important. And just as, a lot of people have actually said, the meaning of these names are important as well. It's not just about you naming your child, because I've heard a lot of people name their children let me just say incredible names,
exactly.
Names that you would never expect someone to actually, identify with.
Actually, during the week, I saw a WhatsApp message circulating about, a trend, especially among some young women in northern Nigeria, where they say, okay, your parents name you Rashida, but you now shorten it to Rash. Also.
Like Rashes or something.
So, like, once you try to alter names, sometimes also it gives you a completely different thing. As some of the respondents in the report are saying, like if you say servant, so, that's something different. If you say servant of God, you merge it and it's become something meaningful.
Very,
so it's really
important.
interesting phenomenon. And something that we grow up with, and it's become part of our consciousness.
I've actually sat down to imagine, what if, we were identified, we had other options or other means of identification. What if you didn't have a name? For example, I want to communicate with you. How do I relate with you?
That's interesting.
Excuse me.
As a student of language, we are told that language is arbitrary, from school. That is to say that there's no relationship between the person or the item being referred to and the name that we call it. For example, if this ruler, for example, cap, we initially started calling it as a shoe. We'll grow up calling it as a shoe, and nobody will say, why are you calling it? So that is it. So if, as we are suggesting, if maybe I had no name or I bore a different name.
Or probably you're from the northern part. Yes, you're from the northern part, and then you bear a name from the south or the east.
Say, for example, Chidi. That's interesting. Okay, now moving on. At least 115 internally displaced persons in Nasarawa State have benefited from the distribution of sewing machines as part of creating an alternative means of livelihood. At the presentation ceremony in Lafia, the State Governor Abdullahi Slay explained that the gesture forms part of efforts by the state government to cater for the well-being of internally displaced persons in the state. The report.
The distribution, which was a collaboration between the Nasarawa State Government, United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the Japanese government, drew beneficiaries from the 4 local government areas of Awe, Kiana, Obi, and Doma. The beneficiaries are victims of humanitarian crisis and displaced persons from various IDP camps in the state who have undergone 3 months training in various skills to enable them become self-reliant. Governor Sule explained that the move was to reduce the hardship being faced by the IDPs and to make them have a sense of belonging. While charging the beneficiaries to use the machines properly to enhance their livelihood, Governor Sule also called on other donor agencies and well-meaning individuals to emulate the initiative by the UNDP and the Japanese government to assist internally displaced persons and other vulnerable children.
Let me use the opportunity of the occasion to call on other development partners and philanthropists to emulate this gesture for the gainful employment of our youth and women for the overall benefit of the society, which I believe will serve as their source of income and to make them have a means of livelihood without depending on others for survival.
Representatives of UNDP, Chukwu Maume, said its organization, in collaboration with the Japanese government, also have a similar program in the state on agriculture to assist the internally displaced persons to engage in farming.
It's our only two-way to ensure that persons who have been affected by conflict, Your Excellency, are able to find their faith, empowered economically, given all sorts of skills and trainings to enable them embark on the journey of self-reliance and economic development.
Director General, Nasarawa State Emergency Management Agency, Zachary Alumaga, explained that the beneficiaries would go home with one sewing machine and other accessories as a startup park to set up their small-scale businesses. Speaking on behalf of the beneficiaries, Rita Ayam appreciated Nasarawa State Government, UNDP, and the Japanese government for coming to their aid.
Thank government of Japan and UNDP. Those humanitarian gesture has gone beyond our borders to include us here in Nigeria.
Welcome back, and that's a very interesting story.
Yes,
You know, talking about empowerment and giving people who are displaced by violence to pick up, to start afresh again. And I think that's something commendable there.
Yeah,
you know,
but it
so
also matters, you know, where they are, you know, when this, you know, machines are actually given to them. You know, if they're still in the IDP camps, I don't know how, what means of livelihood do the others have? How will they make their money, even if they decide to sew? Do you get? Are they going back to their communities very soon? Has security, you know, been beefed up in those communities to enable them go back to their lives as per usual?
Yeah, these are very vital questions, very germane. But you know, in Maiduguri, if you have been to the IDP camps, you'll find out that they have become new communities on their own with everything that you look for, including, for example, the fashion designers and all that. And people, because they engage in menial jobs or even begging, they still sew, they do all those things. So yeah, I think it's very important that people are resettled because, as the saying goes, nowhere like home. Because you can't really compare living in an IDP camp with being in one's home, no matter how wretched the place is. So it's very important, but also it's also sad when sometimes people are not only displaced, but they are made destitute. You see people becoming beggars, you know, on the streets of most of these cities where they have security problem. So it's important that these people are given an opportunity to not only settle somewhere before maybe the situation improves, but also are given the opportunity to have something that they can do so that they don't become beggars and flood the streets and all that. So that's what, as you said, we need to tackle it holistically. That is not only giving them what to do, but also ensuring that they are back home.
Definitely. All right, with that, we'll take a quick breather, and when we come back, it'll be time for us to take a look at what the papers are saying.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, we'll begin with Daily Trust newspaper, and yes, today is Monday, the 16th of May, and let's start with the lead story here that talks about the aftermath of a resignation. Jostle begins for vacant ministerial positions, and we have writers that say Buhari's assurance spurs lobby in states. We also have Silva yet to resign as petroleum minister, says aide. President will decide on ministers who made U-turn, says spokesman. spokesman. And you can find details of that particular story on page 5. Now, we also have more stories. We have, just below that particular story, you'd see a pictorial of deserted streets in Sokoto as residents observed 24-hour curfew yesterday. And we have passengers spend night at airports as fuel shortage bites harder. You can find details of that story on page 26. If you go to the top of the page, you'll find a story on Kano APC crisis that talks about Shekaro set to dump ruling party today. Electoral Act, Buhari AGF head to Supreme Court. Now, on the footnote there, you have blasphemy. Khan asks members to quit NIREC. Calm returns to Sokoto. And Kebbi governorship intrigues as Malami's withdrawal changes equation. And then finally, teenager sets ablaze over motorcycle theft in Edo. Now let's talk about the aftermath of the resignation and how, the writer here says, there's a lot of lobbying in some states already for some of these positions.
Oh, I thought maybe you are also one of those lobbying, but there is no vacancy from your state. Yeah, that's interesting. Politicians are the most optimistic people. They are always optimistic, so especially when there is opportunity like this. And a lot of people are trying to position themselves. A lot of people will be, lobbying, as the headline suggests, so that, they will get the big job. So
when the time comes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think there are about 7 or so states so far that are vacant. I know that there is Plateau, Ondo, Imo, Anambra, and a couple of other states. So it shows, that politicians from these states will definitely, Rivers and all that, will definitely try to see that they get the big job. Some of them, maybe because they have support for they have worked for the ruling party, maybe bringing it to power, or because they are close to some important persons. There are so many ways into the corridors of power.
So what about, the likes of Malami and Ngige, who were aspiring for, presidency positions like presidency and governorship, and decided to, make a U-turn?
Yeah, that's a very interesting U-turn now.
So what does that say about
Yes,
them?
and I think that is why the presidential spokesperson saying president will decide on ministers who made U-turn. Because if you remember, I don't know if you miss it, at the weekend, the Lagos lawyer Femi Falana came out to say that all those who are now making U-turn after tendering their resignation, they have a changed status by the Constitution, so they would have to be reappointed. So that's somehow, for me, some sort of legal knots for us to untie. I don't know how, but as the spokesperson is saying here, it is for the president to look at it and take a decision. But of course, decision cannot go counter to the law. So if the law says, for example, if the resignation have been already tendered, we have to look at what the law says, for example, to follow what exactly should be done.
Okay, now we still have a story talking about the president, saying that the president and the Attorney General of the Federation have headed to the Supreme Court on account of the Electoral Act. It's still an issue.
As you are reading the headlines, I was in my mind saying, could it be the reason why the Attorney General is staying back? Because, he directly and indirectly is the one championing that contentious section of the Electoral Act is removed to ensure that they are allowed to stay longer in office. So it's possible that maybe he's optimistic that the Supreme Court will turn.
And then he will go back to his
governorship
aspirations.
Yes, but one thing is the primaries will be decided on Friday. Friday, Saturday for the APC governorship. And that means he has only 5 days. And except if the person who is elected at the Congress decide to step down for him, for example, so that they replace. But if not, well, that's, politicians, they always have a number of game plans. So we wait to see what will happen.
Okay, so let's talk about, passenger spending nights. We were talking about the fuel situation earlier, and now they're saying passenger spending nights at airports. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah,
I thought, something has actually been done about it.
Well, sometimes, anytime there is crisis like this, it takes long to resolve. Just like what happened with the fuel queues in the last, for example, 2 weeks. The NNPC came out to say, oh, it's not because that we don't have fuel, it's because there was a public holiday and there was no loading of the product for some days. And what that shows is that as anytime, it's just like queues or like traffic, once there is any snag, anything that will obstruct the flow, then it will build up. So it's the same thing. This Jet 1, the aviation fuel crisis, is similar issue because there was scarcity, especially because of the price. The last I heard, it reached 700 naira per liter. So I think they have not been able to resolve it, even though the NNPC has, at a meeting, promised to cut down or to supply the product at 480 per liter for 3 months. So maybe that has not started happening, and that is why what we are witnessing. Because in many places, as if you open, for readers who pick the copy of the paper, they will see there's a picture of stranded passengers, and it shows it's a nationwide problem in which passengers in Lagos, in Kano, and other places are affected, are stranded.
All right, now let's take a look at, some other issues, especially
Well,
here.
I'm very selfish. My story from Kano.
Yeah, I was still going to talk about it. All right, so talk about it. Now, first it was Kwankwaso, and some other people. Now we have Shekaro set to dump, the APC.
Yeah,
what is happening?
The Kano APC crisis is becoming quite interesting, and I think it appears it's like a tsunami has hit the party, the ruling party in Kano.
And it seems they're all moving to the NNPP.
Well, NNPP is now the next party in Kano. You are either in APC or
in... It's a third force.
It's not only a third force, it's a second force now because, what happened, Konkoso and his people have moved out of PDP. They have somehow emptied PDP. And so PDP is now... something of a barren
like a
place
shell.
now. It's a shell, that almost nobody is there. Of course, there are people, with all respect to them, including a number of them aspiring for governorship for the ticket of the party. But the vigor is lost to the NNPP.
No, definitely.
And then now with the decision of the Kano State Governor to endorse some candidates for different positions, the aggrieved persons are now also making an exodus out of the party. And that exodus is almost happening every minute, so to say, because so many big fishes have moved. And I think the climax is Shekaro's moving into the NNPP. And there were spirited efforts over the weekend to stop him, especially on Saturday, including a visit by the governor. There were stories saying that a jet was sent from Abuja to pick him and the governor so that there will be a reconciliation meeting in Abuja and all that. And it appears that none of that has yielded any fruit. And as the story is suggesting, or maybe later today, we'll hear about him dumping the party. And that would be interesting because, Shekaro is a founding member of the APC. He left the APC when Kwankwaso joined and moved to the PDP, and now
he has left the PDP.
He left PDP to go back to APC. And he is now leaving the APC to come to NNPP and working together with his arch rival, Rabiu Kwankwaso. So it's, politics, as they say, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, only permanent interest. And that's what is playing out in Kano.
All right, so let's just touch on this before we move on. Talking about jungle justice, recently we saw what happened in Sokoto, and now we're seeing a teenager being set ablaze over motorcycle theft. in Edo State?
Yes, jungle justice.
I thought there were laws, against such.
Yeah, there are. It's a serious crime because, in everything, the first thing in issue of justice is to is actually to confirm the crime. And confirmation of the crime only happen where in the court. So if someone, because someone shouted that he is a thief, and people just gather about, hack him to death and burn him alive, that's really barbaric. That's really shocking and condemnable. And I think, as you said, it is really concern if it is happening here, there, and there again. I mean, there should be mechanisms to confront crimes, to confront wrongdoing, but to just resort to self-help, to jungle justice is really, because the problem of jungle justice is that oftentimes people who are, or persons who are not actually guilty get
being hurt.
Yes, get to die for nothing. So it is really a concern. Look at this teenager, and they say motorcycle. Is motorcycle the same as human life?
Exactly.
That's,
Humanity before everything is what a lot of people are actually clamoring for.
Exactly.
I mean, there are enough, what do you call it? We're like as Nigerians actually going through so much that we need to actually fight against, and not ourselves.
Yeah.
You have the insecurity.
That is true.
Why not, put all our energy into fighting insecurity? And we have so much hardship. Let's put in a lot of energy to help each other rather than fighting each other.
That's true. That's true.
All right, with that, we'll move on to more papers.
So we take a look at the Nation newspaper, where the big headline says Atiku, Wike, Saraki, others battle for 3,700 delegates. Oyo, Oshun, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Kaduna, Bauchi, among those with large number of voters. And they have the breakdown of the figures there, which is quite interesting. And looking at the figures, I'm surprised. Okay, Abia has 116, while Zamfara has 34. Maybe, could it be because maybe Zamfara is not a PDP state? There is not maybe too many elected persons on the PDP platform. Just below that, we have a pictorial saying a major market in Sokoto has come returned to the city yesterday. And, just like the Daily Trust front page, it shows the impact, the devastation, the unintended consequences of violence. People who may not have something to do are caged at home because of the curfew. And this is a very telling picture. It shows an empty market in Sokoto. Just below the pictorial, we have another story saying Buhari Malami asks Supreme Court to void Electoral Act, Section 84, subsection 12. To the right, to the left, another story says resignation directive. Amechi Silva telling others to go today. Presidential advisor joins Jigawa governor's race. Just below that, at the bottom, NDLEA seizes 203,897 tramadol in Abia, Kaduna, Yobe, Kogi rates. On the top of the front page, what Kanu told me about Southeast killings by Soludo. This is a story on page 5. Still on page 5 of the newspaper, is a story saying nobody has contacted us, says slain Deborah's dad. To the right, SEC limits digital currency, offers to 10 billion. Oshimole, 350 others screen for APC Senate tickets. These are some of the major stories on the front page of the Nation today.
This particular story, I know we've actually talked about it, but talking about Buhari Malami asked Supreme Court to void Electoral Act Section 84, subsection 12. Now, a lot of people would actually say that, this is actually happening for a selfish reason, because what if, because the Attorney General is actually eyeing the governorship, Kebbi governorship position. What if he wasn't? Will they go all the way to the Supreme Court? Will they do everything it takes to void that particular clause?
Well, there is I will answer the question indirectly by saying that yes, there have been calls for the separation of the office of the Attorney General from the office of Minister of Justice. And in fact, I think there were attempts by the National Assembly to do just that, I think twice, including in the current constitutional review process. Because the implication of having the two offices, one person manning the two offices, is this conflict of interest we're talking about. Because Attorney General is supposed to be the country's chief law officer, somebody who guides the entire country, not only the president, about what should be, what is the legal position of things. But the Minister of Justice could be a politician directing affairs of the ministry. And if you have one and the same person doing the same thing, it's always untidy when politician is the one dictating the law. Because as you are suggesting, there are cases or there are implications of conflict of interest, him maybe trying to tweak things to his or her advantage or that of his political party. And so I think that is why it is very noble, the idea of separating the office of the Minister of Justice from that of the Accountant, Attorney General of the Federation.
Now, I think with that, we would actually, let's talk about Atiku Wike Saraki. That's the lead story. Atiku Wike Saraki and others battle for 3,700 delegates. And you were kind of, alarmed about the figures there.
The differences. But I figured it out. Usually, there is what we call statutory delegates, that is elected persons. So states that have a ruling party, or a member of the party as governor in the state, they tend to have, controlling the state, they tend to have more elected persons, because up to councillors, local government chairmen and all that are part of the statutory delegates, state assembly members and all. So it swells the number. Meanwhile, states that are on another platform, you find out that the numbers are limited because they don't have that. So, and this analysis is quite revealing of who will decide the PDP ticket. Well, for example, Benue has 139 delegates. So this 139, if you compare it with, is still much higher than what states like, what so many other states are having, because in the same token, if you look at maybe state you think are big states like state like Yobe, for example, have 71, Zamfara 34, and Ekiti 72, but Ogun 84. But you have states like Enugu, for example, has 143. Akwa Ibom has 179. That's quite much. And Delta has 155. You see Ebonyi, which is also controlled by the APC, has only 79. So this shows, the dynamics. And I think it is from this that the candidates will have to know where to prioritize, because you can't give the same attention to all the states.
All right, so let's move on to more papers. We have the Punch newspaper, and the lead story here talks about blasphemy killing. Our children won't attend school again, says Deborah's parents. Can to petition UN, US. And we have writers that say, government has not contacted us. I went to fetch the corpse myself, father laments. Northern Can asks parents to stop sending children to Sokoto schools. We also have Nigeria, not an Islamic country. Gumi warns Muslims against killings. All right, we have more stories at the top of the page there. 9 banks' non-performing loan rise hit 814 billion naira, says reports. Nigeria spends 86% of revenue on debt servicing, South Africa 20%. On train abduction, negotiations deadlocked, federal government seeks foreign assistance. No agreement with a federal government, strike not ending soon, says ASU, SANU and NASU. Right beside the nameplate, we have gunmen killed 323 security operatives in 2022, says report. And, you know, if you come beside the pictorial there, NDLEA bust drug cartels, fake employment syndicates. Containers clearing costs jumps to 67%. Vehicle parts prices soar. We also have Amechi, Talon, others may resign today. More stories. National Assembly transmits amended Electoral Act to Buhari. Lassa fever killed 151 in 17 weeks, says NCDC. Lagos to demolish 6 more buildings, continues crackdown. 4 arrested as Okada riders kill, burn Lagos engineer over 100 naira. And then finally, 73% of workers under contributory pension below 40 years, says PENCOM. We'll move on to more papers after this.
Next paper, we look at Vanguard newspaper where it says 2023 APC governors, senators draw battle line over Lawan. Intrigues heighten as presidential aspirant sponsors 7 co-contestants. Party includes screening of governors, senatorial candidates. Concludes, I beg your pardon. Party concludes screening of governors, senatorial candidates. On top of that page, Deborah, none of my 7 children will go to school again, says mother. Excitement as Emefiele gets Forbes Best Africa Lifetime Achievement Award. Ukraine-Russia war, presidential power initiative faces new hurdle. It's a story on page 35. Below the banner headline is a story about pension, unemployment, pension savings withdrawals reverse 4-year trend. As there are bullets, as withdrawals by sacked workers rise 23.7%. NECA TUC react, seek urgent government intervention. Court halts sharing of derivation funds to oil-producing states, story on page 11. Lagos Motor Park crisis, NURTW orders MC Olumo to vacate office complex. Train attack, bandits release pregnant woman. 2023, we want Yoruba referendum, not interim government, says group. By the right side, Oshimole undergoes APC senatorial screening, story on page 35. Hackers can now unlock steel vehicles, NCC warns Nigerians, story on page 10. 2023, Amechi gave us money, helped when quizzed by DSS, El Rufai. These are stories on the front page of today's Vanguard newspaper.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper. And we have at the top of the page there, Buhari Malami head to Supreme Court, sue National Assembly over Section 84, subsection 12. And we also have Nigerian Ports Authority, that's NPA, threatens revocation of port concession pact over decaying infrastructure. Details of that can be found on page 5. Now, Deborah, that's the lead story. Northern governors condemn killing, call for calm. And writers here say Sokoto schools to remain shut. Deborah's parents say, we cannot say anything. We have left all to God. Police deny report identifying suspected killer as foreigner. Ohaneze Ndibo, OPC. Others condemn destruction of Igbo property, charge northern leaders to halt Sokoto mayhem. On blasphemy, withdraw from Interreligious Council. Northern can tell Christian leaders. Tekan demands justice for slain Deborah Samuel. And we also have more stories just below that one. Serap sues Buhari. Malami wants answers over 1.48 trillion naira spent on refineries. We also have hackers can unlock steal your vehicles. NCC warn Nigerians. APC consensus arrangements in Cross River collapses. And on page 44, NMA to brainstorm on tackling health emergencies and others. So these are some of the stories on the front page of Guardian newspaper.
Moving on next, we take News Direct newspaper, where the major story says APC primary election, EFCC, CCB, APC presidential National Assembly aspirant. On top of the page, Kaduna State delegates back Amechi. On story on page 23, attack on Abiodun, Onagorua family disowns member. Hackers can unlock steal your vehicles. NCC alerts Nigerians. Story on page 2. Below the page, TCN reconstructs vandalized transmission tower in Uyo. Transmission line to be energized soon. Pantami, a continental change icon. Story on page 21. So these are some of the stories in today's Nigerian News Direct.
Let's take a look at some of the stories on the Abuja Inquirer, and we have stories on open defecation here. FCTA on massive construction of public toilets. No room for excessive levies. FCTA warns schools, PTAs, and details of that on page 6. 31 states have domesticated Child's Right Act, says Talon. We also have on page 15, Buhari should fill positions of resigning ministers without delay. Now, the lead story here talks about 2022 flood outlook. Amak Gwagwalada on red alert as FCTA to demolish more buildings at Trademore Valley Hub estates. We also have insecurity. Arewa Group warns extension of party primaries, and activists such called demands vigilance, and that's according to an activist. And you have a pictorial there of the wife of President Muhammadu Buhari, flanked by the wife of the vice president, Mrs. Dolakbo Shibajo, where the First Lady hosted APC female aspirants to a summit in collaboration with the Office of the APC Women Leader in Abuja. And with that, we'll move on to more papers.
The next paper to look at is Blueprint, where the big headline says MNJTF, that is Multinational Joint Task Force, troops neutralized 300 terrorists in Lake Chad fringes, destroy 4 IEDs, lose 6 soldiers, civilian JTF, foil another attack on 3 Niger LGS, spate of insecurity alarming, said a Husseini. Abuja Kaduna train attackers release pregnant captive. On top of the page, Deborah, Sokoto suspend school resumption for 1 week. Whoever kills over blasphemy will miss paradise, says Gumi. Remain at home, NYC Direct Corps members. CP Ayoku patrols Kaduna Metropolis. This is a story on page 6 of the paper. Below that, we have a pictorial showing the Vice President, Professor Oyemi Oshubanjo, and Chairman of the APC, Chairman the Progressive Project, Senator Kabiru Gayar on the right, and Chairman APC Jigawa State Chapter, Alaja Aminu Gomel, and others during the arrival of the Vice President in Duse International Airport for the APC stakeholders meeting in Duse. Just below that, NFF appoints Pesero as Super Eagles gaffer. Story on page 31. Just below that, there are some other stories. Hackers can unlock steal your vehicles. NCC alerts Nigerians. Access Bank will support customers' lifestyles with digital tools, says Wigwe. And these and many other stories will be found in today's Blueprint newspaper.
All right, with that, we'll wrap up the newspaper review at this hour. We'll have detailed review at the next hour. We'll be joined by public affairs analyst Lanre Oluwani. But for now, let's take a look at my daily hustle and find out how Nigerians are surviving on a daily basis.
My name is Ada Emmanuel. I'm from Benue State. I actually sell roasted yam for a living. Well, I didn't actually start it. My mother started it probably 10 years ago, if I'm to say correctly. So it's not until 2 years ago since I started helping her. So ever since, it's been me and her. Well, she's actually old, and the business actually is not helping her medically. She has a series of sicknesses that were caused by too much fire, I guess. So that should be it. What made me join her in the business was that she has been having medical problems due to too much heat always, and she wakes up very, very early. So it's pretty much bad for a woman of her age. So I decided to join her, and ever since it's just been me and her. The way I usually help her is that instead of her waking up early, I usually come here early in the morning, arrange the place. She probably joins me later. She sells it. Most times, all the message, because she can't actually walk well, so most of the messages I'm the one going it. So she just has to sit in one place. That would be easy for her. For me though. Ever since I joined her in the business, it's pretty much, I wake up most times 5:30 in the morning. So after I wake up, I brush my teeth, take my bath. In less than 30 minutes, I get here. Because where I live, there's usually traffic. So I have to get up very early in order to meet up with my time here. So I usually get here 6 o'clock, 6:30. First thing I do is I set up the fire, put the beans on the fire. Then I rush to the market, get plantain. Most times I even get plantain the day before that to avoid wasting my time. So I get the plantain. Pretty much I put it on the fire. The same thing with yam. Buy the yam and put it on the fire. So the next thing I do, I start cutting the onions to make the sauce, so that before somebody will come and ask for the yam, the sauce is already ready. So when I'm done with that, next thing I do is get another beans, because we usually cook twice in a day. So I go to the market. By that time my mom will be here. She will take care of the serving. I'll just be at the market. I'll get beans and the rest for the next day. So that's pretty much how I do it almost every day. The business is actually helping. It's actually our only source of livelihood. My sister is actually in school. It was with this business that she put her in school, in university. So my secondary school was from this business. And I'm going to WAEC now. It's also from this business. So the business is actually almost everything to us. That's why I don't want it to go to waste. Before I left school, what I usually do, I come in the morning as early as 6. I'll help her and arrange the place. So when I've done all that, at least 7:25, 7:20, I'm done. Then I hurry to school, because my school is not actually far from here. So in less than 10 minutes, I'm back in school. When I'm done from school, 2 o'clock, I'm back here. Help till the night. I will usually wash my uniform and dry it out here. So when I get home, all I do is just iron it, prepare for the next day. That's pretty much everything. I usually do my assignment most times 12 in the midnight, 10 in the midnight. I just do it late at night. That's the only time I can say I have chance for myself. And most times I might be very tired, I might just ignore it. But I make sure I do it though, because it's actually important to me. I'm a science student, so I can actually joke with my assignments. So most of the time, when you actually tell them, when it comes to plantain, the price is actually high sometimes. So when you tell them that, okay, this plantain is 300, they'll be like, for only plantain. So you actually make it look like a joke. You just be like, nah, 300 now, you know, 50. Most of them now, for the fact that you said that, it's not like they don't have the money, but because you said that, they'll just give it to you and buy it. Most of them, they will actually want to leave, but with the way you actually address them, they'll be like, okay, fine, just give it to me. Because most times, before, you will be able to get beans 100 naira, but when the price increased to 150, many were complaining, but with the way we were talking to them, they just got used to it and they started buying it at that price. About my education, it's actually a blow spot for me though, because I don't actually think I can get the money I need for my education from this business, but I'm hoping for a turnaround very soon. I actually want to study civil engineering, so probably next year or upper year I should be working on that, but for now I'll have to wait for my sister to graduate. She's probably graduating next year, early next year. So by then I'll be ready to work for myself. As a kid, I actually loved anything that has to do with electronics, computer. Most times I was just open our TV for no reason and I'll be watching inside, checking. So I actually grew, should I say, affection for it. I would actually want to like develop the country and all those kind of things. So being a civil engineer is the only way I think I can help the country from my own aspect of life. That's pretty much why I chose it. Actually, because I feel like the business is not really paying off, and with time we'll get tired of it, we'll have to leave it. So I'm actually thinking of something, probably in January of next year. I'll open a fruit juice spot. I'll start selling fruit juice. It's actually better because my sister was doing it before she went to school. So I actually want to take over from her. So the price of the fruit juice, the rate of the business is actually better than this, by far better than this. At least with that, I know I won't stay hungry anymore. The biggest challenge, I guess, was my education. It's always been my education. Like, education in my family is actually very hard because we don't come from somewhere that there's always money. Most of the time, funniest part is that whenever I need to change institution, like from JS1, from primary 6 to JS1, my mom had to borrow money. She later paid up before I finished JS3. From JS3 to SS1, she still had to borrow money. And I'm very sure now that if I want to go to a higher institution, she will still borrow money. So it's not actually something I admire, it's not good. So I'm pretty much trying to change everything. There are most people that will come here in the evening like this and they start asking for their money. Most times I feel like crying because I don't like it even small. They won't believe, they'll be like, you have only 2 children, how can you be suffering? We that have 6, we are still managing and shit like that, but it's not actually easy. Yeah, it's just me and my sister, but it's not as easy as it seems. There's money in the business, but it depends on where you're selling it. Because for this place, there are actually about 5 people selling just this. Yeah, so it's actually a competition thing for them. Because if you sell at the higher price, this person sells at the lower price, this person will be the one selling, you won't say anything. So they actually drag the price. Most times they'll reduce the price for no reason. That's the main thing. But there was somewhere in Chai or something like that that my auntie usually sells. Like, her profit is way better than this. And they actually sell more than her. They can sell 3 bunch here, but that auntie will sell probably 2 and make more money than them here.
Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television right here in the Federal Capital Territory. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, viewers, and good morning, Husseina. I am Abdulaziz. It is a beautiful morning here in Abuja, and thank you for staying with us.
Okay, let's take a look at the highlights at this hour. Tension grips residents as terrorists take over communities around Niger state capital.
Soludo visits Nnamdi Kanu, calls for restoration of peace in Anambra State.
I have not resigned, says Amechi.
We move on to the details of this highlight. Terrorists have reportedly taken over communities between Mutundaya and Gunu in Sarikim Power Road, Munya local government area of Niger State. These communities are about 20 kilometers from the state capital, Mina. Speaking on the latest attack, a resident, Shehu Abubakar, told our correspondent that the attackers operated at Chibani, Kuchi, and Injita and Gwada axis when residents were still observing their early morning prayers. He said they operated unchallenged from 5:30 a.m. till around 11 a.m. The terrorists were said to have later moved to communities between Mutundaya and Gunu, 10 minutes drive from Mina, the state capital. Commenting on the incident, a resident said, "No place is safe for us again. Mutundaya community is where many of our women ran due to previous attacks. Mutundaya to Mina will just take you about 10 minutes at least, and is presently under attack by terrorists," he said. Travelers plying Gunu, Mutundaya, Gwada, Sarikimpawa, and adjoining villages were trapped as the road was reportedly unsafe on Sunday morning. Mutundaya is also the town connecting Kuta, the headquarters of Shiroro local government, Gwada, and Zumba housing camps, with hundreds of internally displaced persons from Munya and Shiroro local government areas.
And finally, the Anambra State Governor, Charles Soludo, on Friday visited the detained leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The governor, whose visit was part of a wider consultation with critical stakeholders in search of lasting peace and security in the southeast, said that the IPOB leader was in very high spirit. Nnamdi Kanu, who expressed sadness over the loss of lives and properties in the southeast, called for the restoration of peace in the state. He described the numerous deaths as sacrilegious killings of innocent persons, kidnapping, and all forms of criminalities, including the brutal enforcement of the senseless sit-at-home perpetrated by sundry groups claiming to be acting on behalf of IPOB. The IPOB leader noted that if the opportunity arises, he will be glad to personally broadcast to his followers to maintain the peace.
Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi says he is still a member of the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. Amechi, who is among the 10 ministers who Buhari bade farewell on Friday, announced this in Kaduna State on Sunday. After the voluntary session held for ministers who are eyeing elective seats in the 2023 elections, two of those who were part of the session backtracked. While Chris Ngige, who declared interest in succeeding Buhari, withdrew from the presidential race, Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General of the Federation, also opted out of the KB governorship race. On his part, Amechi said he would resign on Monday. He told delegates of the state that he is young and the most experienced of all the presidential aspirants, adding that the presidency requires agility of a young man. Hence, the elderly people should go home and rest.
Funny when he said he's a young man.
Oh, you mean the transportation minister?
Yes,
politics.
And all the old people should go home.
The Tinubu, what he goes about saying is that this is not about physical strength, but about what you can do with your brain and all that. So, when Amechi declared in Port Harcourt, I don't know if you remember, he ran around the stadium.
Just to show that he's fit.
To show that he's fit. So it's an interesting game. We are in the season, so we enjoy it while it lasts because, I mean, while it lasts, all of them are trying to
you know, portray themselves as the best and the most qualified. So we actually understand, you know, how that goes. Well, we can't wait to, you know, find out what happens. You know, he's supposed to resign today, according to him. So
I thought he did because, although of course the deadline was Monday, that is today, the 16th of the month. So it is here, and as he said, he will resign, and we wait to see.
All right. One of the easiest ways of identifying a person is by their names. The importance of this means of identification makes it imperative that once a child is born, they're given one. Now, in this report, Trust TV's Kabir Lowell examines the importance of names and its significance.
To many, names are just an identification tag that carries no more significance or effect than naming who the bearer is, while others believe there is more to name that meets the eye. However, in African context, naming is a very important tool used among various cultures to convey certain messages, either to an individual, family members, or a community.
Amarachi means the grace of God. As a child growing up, I was always sick. So it took grace that I survived. My mom didn't really believe that I would live up to this age. So I feel like it's a name that follows me. The grace of God has always been around me. Well, we should be careful of names. It's just like the words we speak. It goes a long way in the children's life. So just like your words, the names has effect as well.
Some respondents believe that African children also receive a second name believed to be prayers, hope for the future, unnamed expectations, and parental aspirations. Names are also given based on geographic environment, religious beliefs, as well as past experiences. The chosen name may even offer insight into important cultural or socio-political events at that time.
Oh, my name is God's Glory Omojo.
So what is the meaning of your name?
God's Glory Omojo is like someone that represents the glory of God. God's glory. Then Omojo means child of God. Then Edibo is servant of God. Like Edibo is servant of a king. You understand? So there are these persons in our village that stands behind the king. So those persons, they call them Edibo. So they are servant of a king. You know, but being born into a Christian family will now change into servant of God because we are standing behind God as his servants. So I feel every parent should just be conscious of giving their child good names that will represent what they really want in their child.
In modern African culture, naming ceremonies are celebrations that formally introduce a child to the world, its community, and announces the infant's name and meanings of the said names.
The name is of paramount importance in our society, which goes a long way to make the bearer good ambassador of the nation. He added that most time individuals change names that will have adverse effects on the bearer.
My name is Said Razak.
Said Razak.
Yeah.
So what is the meaning of your name?
The meaning of my name is, according to what I hear, is Anobi Said, it's prophet of Allah. I have Babatunde.
You have Babatunde? Yeah. Why do they call you Babatunde?
It's because my grandpa late. That's why they call me Babatunde.
One classic case of the impact of a name on a person's life is named Good Luck, which many Nigerians believe contributed to the meteoric rise of ex-President Jonathan from political oblivion to the zenith of politics in Nigeria. Kabir Lowell, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, at least 115 internally displaced persons in Nasarawa State have benefited from the distribution of sewing machines as part of creating an alternative means of livelihood. At the presentation ceremony in Lafia, the state capital, Governor Abdullahi Sule explained that the gesture forms part of the efforts by the state government to cater for the well-being of internally displaced persons in the state. The report.
The distribution, which was a collaboration between the Nasarawa State Government, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Japanese government, drew beneficiaries from the 4 local government areas of Awe, Kiana, Obi, and Doma. The beneficiaries are victims of humanitarian crisis and displaced persons from various IDP camps in the state who have undergone 3 months training in various skills to enable them become self-reliant. Governor Sule explained that the move was to reduce the hardship being faced by the IDPs and to make them have a sense of belonging. While charging the beneficiaries to use the machines properly to enhance their livelihood, Governor Sule also called on other donor agencies and well-meaning individuals to emulate the initiative by the UNDP and the Japanese government to assist internally displaced persons and other vulnerable children.
Let me use the opportunity of the occasion to call on other development partners and philanthropists to emulate this gesture for the gainful employment of our youth and women for the overall benefit of the society, which I believe will serve as their source of income and to make them have a means of livelihood without depending on others for survival.
Representatives of UNDP, Chukwumaome, said his organization, in collaboration with the Japanese government, also have a similar program in the state on agriculture to assist the internally displaced persons to engage in farming.
Is our only way to ensure that persons who have been affected by conflict, Your Excellency, are able to find their faith, empowered economically, given all sorts of skills and training to enable them embark on the journey of self-reliance and economic development.
Director General, Nasarawa State Emergency Management Agency, Zakari Alumaga, explained that the beneficiaries would go home with one sewing machine and other accessories as a startup park to set up their small-scale businesses. Speaking on behalf of the beneficiaries, Rita Ayam appreciated Nasarawa State Government, UNDP, and the Japanese government for coming to their aid.
Thank government of Japan and UNDP. Whose humanitarian gesture has gone beyond our borders to include us here in Nigeria.
All right, we'll be back in a bit with newspaper review.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Right here in the studio, we have public affairs analyst Lanre Oluwani joining us for a detailed review of today's front pages. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak on
Good
Trust
morning.
TV.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with Daily Trust newspaper and the lead story talking about the aftermath of the resignation, and how there's a jostle, a lot of people are lobbying for Buhari's assurance, especially when it comes to these ministerial positions, and jostle has actually begun for vacant ministerial positions. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much. It's a normal thing in politics. Lobby is part of the game. But what's important most is that at this time, Mr. President must look at the competency, because he only have only a short period of time to go, less than a year, if I'm correct. Mm-hmm. So if he's bringing new hands to join in the remaining part of the administration, you should look at their track record, look at how competent they are, and see how you can fix them into a right place. Not just about just lobbying alone. Everybody can lobby.
Apart from the lobbying to replace the ministers, on Friday the president had a valedictory meeting with 10 of them, and then all of a sudden 2 have made a U-turn to say that they are no longer interested in the elective offices. What do you make of that U-turn particular action?
The issue there is that we're in a country whereby anybody can just feel like, let me do this. But they forgot that there is a law in place. And that's what President Muhammad showed to them. The guys, come. You want to be president? No problem. I'm not going to stop you, but you have to resign according to the electoral act as amended. Before you go to primary election, you have to resign from the office you occupy. So they don't know that President Muhammadu Buhari will show up that way.
So he like ambushed them.
Exactly. So majority, they have been, they went to court, I think in Abia, and appeal rule over that judgment in Abia. And so an appeal outcome does not go in their favor. So they're like, and President Buhari had to call an immediate fake meeting. Say, come, you guys, if you are contesting, I don't stop you, but be rest assured that immediately you leave, I'm replacing you. So not like you go and face the primary and you expect me to wait for you to return back. So that is already put them in a tight corner. So I think it's a breach of democracy.
All right, you talked about the Electoral Act, and right now we're seeing that the President and, the Attorney General of the Federation are seeking, the Supreme Court, to void that particular clause, the controversial clause, that's the clause 84, subsection 12. What do you think about that?
Now, until we get there, when the matter is in court, you don't talk much on it. So that will not preempt the outcome of the court.
Okay, but what are
Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, no doubt about it. But my own stand on it is that judiciary is a separate arm of government. Legislative is also a separate arm of government. So the duty of legislative arm of government is to make a law, which they have done. And President Muhammad has signed it into law. So going to court, another arm of government, to challenge the stand of that clause. Let's see how it goes. I believe it is the first time we're experiencing it, when a legislative will make a law finish, and they will take it before it ends, they take it to the...
No, Mr. Larry, but that is the function of the courts, to interpret the laws.
Yeah.
And I think it's not out of place. But the issue now is that how does this affect overall electoral process? Because there has been this back and forth that this clause is actually very important, according to some people, that it will deprive people of taking advantage of public office for their own personal political gain. But some people say that, as maybe the Attorney General and co, think that this is disenfranchising of the fundamental rights of every Nigerian to be part of a political process. How do you reconcile these two?
Since the case is already in court, like I said before, it takes a prerogative of the Supreme Justice to look at it, that how can we balance it. On the other hand, people were looking at abuse of power.
Yes.
You are in power, you are in office, and because you are in office and you are contesting for another office, there is tendency for you to use that office to achieve some things against your opponent.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go. But at the same time, are they depriving them of their right to vote or to be voted for? No, not absolutely. They don't tell you that you should not vote. They don't tell you that you should not be voted for. What they just want from you is the office you are occupying. Can you please step down?
Okay, now still talking in line with that, let's have your opinion, because right now, the CBN governor, has actually gone to court, and, right now a lot of people are saying that he's now a certified politician. Now, when you're talking about some people, maybe trampling on the rights of these politicians, and then, them being, what you just said, where do we stand when it comes to the CBN governor acting in the capacity of the CBN governor and also a politician?
We find ourselves in a situation whereby someone, like I said before, someone will just wake up and just believe that, let me try this. Let me give it a try. Maybe we go. That's how they are doing it. That's the truth. That's the truth. In a decent society, someone of that capacity, that is a CBN governor, is not supposed to be partisan. That's number one. You are appointed by Mr. President, but just like we just, maybe from tomorrow, just hear someone like Yakub Mahmoud, the INEC chairman, is contesting for president. How will you feel? So it's totally uncalled for. You are the one in charge of the financing, even the material of the INEC. You are the one in so you are not the APC CBN governor. Neither you are a PDP CBN governor. You are a governor, Central Bank of Nigeria. So if you want to contest, it's not something we're supposed to debate. Just resign voluntarily and go and pick the party membership of any party you wish, and you go. Nobody will fight you for that. But you can't be in the same office and you want to use our money. Because how much is your salary in the first place? This is a thing that we need to verify.
Well, you know, the central bank governor will tell you that he's been in the banking industry for over 30 years. So maybe we shouldn't go into that.
Okay.
Now, away from politics, passengers spend night at airports as fuel shortage bites harder. It's one story also on the front page of today's Daily Trust. We are having the fuel queues for people, for motorists. And then even the aviation fuel is having, it's also another crisis. What is the implication of all this, or what does this even mean for Nigeria?
You know, one of our major challenges in this country is because we don't have our own refineries. And the one we have are not even performing up to even 60% performance. So we're all aware that we are exporting crude oil and we are importing PMS, refined crude oil. So what do you expect? Marketers have their own area of story. NNPC too are talking about their own, and I'm aware that they have a general meeting with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. CBN governor was there, the marketers were there, and even the airline people. So they were trying to see how to find a lasting solution to it. The truth of the matter is, let us look for a way to go into these modular refineries. That's just the truth of the matter. I always tell people, I say, if we are a serious country, it only takes an administration 4 years to focus on one modular refinery. Another administration come, another one modular refinery. Another administration come, because we all knew that that is the only product that our economy lies on. And that is the only product. If it goes up, it affects everything in this country. So why are we joking with it?
Well, over the years, there's been a lot of clamor for, revamping our, refineries, and some monies have actually been dispersed into doing that. And right now, we've seen that Sarah is suing the president and Malemi, and they want answers over the 1.48 trillion naira spent on the refineries.
To me, it's just a waste. That's the truth. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. You have been repairing the refinery since how many years? And you keep pumping money there, and it's not giving you a maximum result. So why can't you, if there is a way to abandon it totally, and look for a way to build a new refinery that will not even cost up to the one we have? So it's just a waste. It's the right thing to do by Sarah. So we need to ask questions. That is why we are citizens.
So still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, there's this story saying 9 banks, the non-performing loans that is belonging to 9 banks has hit 814 billion naira, according to reports. And I know that this is a current issue that has led to the banking consolidation, that has led to the creation of AMCON. Why do we still having this phenomenon of non-performing loans, and that is this huge amount of money.
You know, in a society that celebrates big manism, we continue having this reoccurrence problem. Don't forget, we have this issue during the time of the former CBN governor, Lamido Sanusi, with Oceanic Bank and with Intercontinental and all of them. They realize that a lot of big men are borrowing money, they don't even pay interest. But you call, and you begin to pursue a middleman. Let me call it a middleman, then let me say a poor man. So, and you are robbing the middleman to satisfy the big man. So how are we going to grow? And if anything happened to these banks today, is the middleman, me and you, that we have our salary being paid to those banks that will pay the brunt, that will bear the brunt. So it is high time. These are things that the governor of CBN is supposed to look into as a matter of urgency. That's the truth. As a matter of urgency. So we knew what happened to many banks in this country. And I knew about a family relative. As a result of that, the woman could not survive. So why are we like this? Why are we like celebrating big manism at the detriment of the less privileged people, or people that they are not in opportunity to have those access? So until we bring those gaps to a minimal level, I'm not saying there is not going to be big men, I'm not saying there is not going to be high people, but there must be a gap that is so minimal that you can hardly differentiate, and everybody will be served accordingly.
Okay, now still on Punch newspaper, we're seeing reports that some telecom operators, talking about MTN and Airtel, are raking in 615 billion naira from calls and data in 3 months, and this is despite the threats of an over 40% hike in these services.
Yeah, quite interesting. I was on this program last week, the same time, talking about these same issues, and I let the interviewer know that these guys are making a lot of money, even the time passed. So they don't have any moral right to just come overnight to come and increase the tariff to 40% increase. Yeah. Now, I'm happy to hear the same story as of this morning too, that this amount of money they have realized within 3 months. So why are they threatening us for 40%? So I've learned my thoughts on that last week, and I believe they have listened to that, and I've seen it in the environment now. The NIM have come closer to the neighborhood to register people so that they can be able to unblock their line. So I'm just being proof.
But does that show that Nigerians really have money, that we are spending this huge amount of money in making phone calls in just 3 months? This is huge amount.
Yes, you know, telecommunication is one of the richest industry that even Nigeria as a country did not pay attention to. That's the truth. That's why I keep laughing. We have many ways to make money. You know, we have our own tour. All of a sudden, it died down. So these are things that Nigeria as a country supposed to find a way of investing into. Make it like any kind of a PPP arrangement. And they can easily generate money into the pocket of the federal government. So the Nigerians are making calls. Not only in Nigeria alone. Calls is something that has become something that is indispensable, whether you like it or not. People just want to make calls. People need to communicate. People need to check news. People need to do something online. Everybody is online now.
All right, let's move on to education. Now, last week we heard that ASU might soon call off strike, and today we're hearing that there's been no agreement with the federal government and, ASU, and strike is not ending soon. And this is according to ASU, SANU, and NASU. Now, what impact do you think this has on our education system?
Serious impact. Any society that does not follow education is already calling for a doom. And that is a result of what we are experiencing in the northern part of Nigeria. You need to educate the people. That is the reason why, under the United Nations, the right charter is your education must be free from primary school to the secondary school level, at least, in any standard society. Now, this is our university level. And if you cannot privatize all these institutions in a way that they can have university autonomy, so why can't you make sure that things work well and try and solve this problem? We are having a strike on 1 year, 1.5, 6 months. It's not today, right from when me and you were in university. It's not in news any longer. So to now make it worse, the private university are doing well. So all the rich people take their children to the private university. The only people you find in the public university now are the less privileged people. So government is not looking into their direction because they are not the children of the high and mighty. It's a worse scenario. It doesn't do us any favor because the more they do this, the more our ranking get to low. We get low ranking at the international level.
Because according to reports, it's they've actually had 18 strikes in 23 years.
18 strikes, 23 years. How many strikes do we have in Ghana? I'm not talking about South Africa. I'm not talking about Kenya. I'm talking about Ghana here. And we call ourselves giant of Africa. And we don't value education. We cannot fund our educational system. So it is that time we start deceiving ourselves. If you want these people to be on autonomy, find arrangement for them to be on autonomy. Let private industry, let them bring partnership. A company like Globacom can say, me, I want to take Amadou Bello University, Zaria. Let's come into partnership with them. And Globacom will pump in money there. Another company, MTN, can say, I will take away you. So before you know it, you will see fibrancy.
Well, that's something that is naughty because I know that ASU is against privatizing education. But Larry, there is this story still on the Punch on page 37 saying containers clearing cost jumps by 67%. Vehicle parts prices soar. And for a country, not only about vehicle parts, for a country depending largely on imported goods, what does this show? 67% increase in prices of clearing of goods.
On clearing of goods, they have a way they systematically increase all this fuel. It's just systematically. If you have been a victim of these people at the wharf, you will know they will tell you how many tickets they pay before they can get their goods out of the wharf. So in anything we are doing, we should look at the implication at the larger society. So if we are bringing 77% increase, what is it going to happen to the small market? Definitely, if you want to change a little thing from your car today, you should expect double amount of money you have been paying before. So these are things that, and that still back, it's still boiled down to issue of petrol, because they could not get enough money from petroleum resources. They have to look for alternative way where to generate income to the Nigerian economy.
Okay, just before we move away from the Punch newspaper, let's take one more story, and that's on the Kaduna train abductions. And right now we're seeing that negotiations are deadlocked as the federal government are seeking assistance from, foreign assistance. There seems to be no end in sight. Well, recently, the pregnant lady who, delivered in, the abductors camp was released, but we still have a lot more abductees, still stuck there, and they all have hopes, but right now we're seeing that even the federal government cannot do there's only so much that they can actually do about, securing their release, and they're seeking foreign assistance.
We are just playing to gallery. That's the truth. It's not those people that were inside that train that still remain in the custody of bandits today. No. We still have a lot of people. A lot of people are still in the custody of these people. So I don't know which foreign intervention they are looking for, because from what I heard, I discovered that they are looking towards China to come and help them. I don't know what China will come and do. Maybe they will release their police or their military apparatus, or I don't know what they will do for us, or their fire jet, I don't know. Which I believe that it's not going to be easy like that. So to me, we're just playing to gallery, because we have our men that are well trained here. Only that there's a lot of sabotage. There's a lot of leakages of information. That's the truth. That's what is happening. Not like our men cannot do this job. I was in Kaduna when they shut down all the old networks for 3 months. So I know the information I got on ground during that period. So not like they can't do it. They can. But there is a lot of sabotage. So bring any foreign missionaries, invite any foreigners. It has happened before. They came, South African missionary came during Jonathan. So they did the one they can do. They left. In terms of Boko Haram, we're just playing together. When we're serious as a nation, we know what to do.
Moving on, we take a look at the Nation newspaper, where the headline story says Atiku, Wike, Saraki, others battle for 3,700 PDP delegates. It's getting interesting. I don't know what are your thoughts about this issue, because it appears that, of course, last week the PDP had finally put to rest the zoning debate, and it's opening up the ticket for everybody's grab. What do you make of this politicking within the PDP?
It's a nice, interesting story, but what they just did is that they just shot themselves at the right leg. Because when you abandon one of your key values that make people respect you and believe in you, which is zoning formula, zoning arrangement, you are beginning to lose it. And that thing has crept into their state. Now, I can hear in the news this morning when someone in one state say, no, nothing like zoning, I'm contesting as well. And it was not like that before, especially in all the southeastern state and southern state. They zone their governorship on senatorial zoning. If you are from this senatorial this time, you spend your time. You already know that this another senatorial is taking place. Now, they begin to say, no, anybody can contest. That is what the impact of what they did at the federal level will do to them. So that as it may be, they have done their own, open it. I believe they are trying to play a game too, a wise game. That, okay, if we tell the opponent that we open this ticket, they may not be able to capture who and who that will win our presidential ticket. Well, good for them. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, we'll come back to you, but we'll now take a short break.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
All right, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. And it's still the newspaper review. We still have our guest, public affairs analyst, Lanre Oluwani, in the studio with us. And right now, just before we go ahead with Mr. Lanre, we would be linking up with our Daily Trust correspondent in Niger State, Abubakar Akoti. He's on phone to give us more details on the attacks on communities in Niger State by terrorists. Good morning, Mr. Akoti. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure joining you.
All right, so we've heard that some of these communities have been completely overtaken and overrun by terrorists. Can you give us an update on, the current situation?
The security situation, especially in Munya local government and part of Shuru, seem to be getting out of hand on a daily basis as more and more communities have been sacked. Most of them now running down to the state capital to rent houses. Some of them staying with their relations and for any uncompleted building found around the state capital. The reason why some of them are trooping to state capital now, based on their narrations, that the IDP camps in Guada, Zumba, that are very close to their local government, where most of them have taken shelter, have been so they found it difficult to get there. And when new IDPs get to IDP camps, it takes time before they are able to find a place to keep their belongings. So some of them now prefer moving down to Mina, the state capital, to stay, to find any uncompleted building or talk to their relations to get the uncompleted building where they stay. Yesterday's attack, three persons, locals, were confirmed killed by bandits, while two of the bandits were also in the process killed. The circumstances behind the killings were, according to eyewitness account, the driver was on top speed on Serikin Power Mineral Road, where the bandits were operating. Unknowingly, he ran into them, lost control and ran into two of them on the middle of the road. And then the rest opened fire on the occupants of the vehicle. And then the driver and two other occupants were reportedly killed. But police later told us that they tracked the bandits and they were able to neutralize a number of them. And the cattle, the Rosu around Mutundea and Gunu yesterday were also recovered, according to Niger State Police Commander, spokesperson.
Walker, these killings, as you said, are escalating. And of concern is that they are like coming closer to the state capital, Minna. How are the residents in Minna reacting to this increasing encroaching of the terrorists into the state capital? Is there some fear? Are there concerns, or are people relocating, things like that?
People are not relocating from state capital, but many residents in the state capital agree to that fear. Because even yesterday's attack, there were a lot of reactions. People are saying that the state capital is no longer safe because the Mutundea and Gunu, where the attacks took place, a bike would just take you like 10 minutes drive. If you are even in a car, it won't take up to 10 minutes to get to Gunu and Mutundea. So a lot of reaction, tension, people are now in fear. These people are moving closer to Minna. And according to residents, what they told, we learned from the narration is that these guys now, their target now is Gwada. But the fear, the reason why they have not been able to invade Gwada now is that they have not found any escaping routes. If they should attack Gwada, where would they, which route would they escape? So, but with their attack now coming closer to state capital now, because yesterday's attack, it was around Gwada town where we have many IDPs now staying. So there's a lot of tension in Minna now among residents with the way they are now moving closer to the state capital, operating freely. It takes time before security operatives respond to some of the attacks.
Okay. Now, you talked about some of these terrorists, being neutralized. Now, in your opinion, do you think that government is actually doing enough, as per rescue efforts to, protect citizens and also take them back to the communities? Because some of these communities you mentioned, were overrun, and the army actually, took the communities back, and now we're seeing that the bandits have taken over these communities again.
Even from the account from some of these security personnel who have had an encounter with these bandits on several occasions and then narrowly escaped, we always tell you that government is not doing much to rescue, because sometimes some of these personnel, I will tell you that they don't send quite a number of them to go and confront terrorists that are in large number. And eventually, when it becomes hot, they don't get reinforcement. Because even recently, some of them complain of the lack of reinforcement. And you see a situation recently, one of them complained that the police and the civil defense who were sent to confront these criminals were conveyed in Sharon bus. And there was not even a serious vehicle to convey them. They were conveyed in Sharon bus to confront the bandits that are with their more sophisticated weapons. Then even before then, some of them even alert from vehicle, damage might have been done, because Sharon I don't think is the right vehicle to be given to security agencies who are going to confront enemies.
Abubakar, I know that you have reported a lot about the IDP situation in Minna. So with more people trooping into the state capital, how is it looking like now regarding the condition of the internally displaced persons? Is the government doing anything? Are people still roaming about and all that?
They are, of course, as I speak with now, most of the local miners now in Minna here are IDP women and children. They are now, because most of them now, once you even approach them, you will see most of them are frustrated. They complain that they have enough food at home, but they will not go back to take their food. Now they are now doing, some of them say they are not even used to this artisanal mining with their tradition. They don't even know how to do it. So at the end of the day, the buyers now they eventually even exploit them because they don't know the value of their mining and all that. And another fear the residents are also expressing is that with them now trooping to state capital without anything reasonable to do to survive is another threat to the security threat to the state capital. Because one way or the other, some of them are found engaging in other illicit things to survive. So it's something that has become a source of concern. On daily basis, you see them roaming the streets, going to mining sites, and they are having, recently they have a serious crisis with a vigilante who said they were sent to stop people from illegal mining, and it was a serious problem because despite their complaint to vigilante said they were not they were enforcing government order. And even the state commander of vigilante said he will not go back as far as government order was concerned. He was going to enforce it, and these people complain of lack of food. So it's something that eventually government doesn't take proactive measures to another face-off between the IDPs and even personnel of the state vigilante.
Okay, now just before we wrap up, Abubakar, do we have an exact number of communities that have been overtaken by these terrorists?
In Munya now, by estimation, because even the state, Niger State emergency management agencies, the community keep on increasing on a daily basis as more as these bandits sustain their attacks. But we have dozens of communities in Munya, dozens in Shiroro local government and Paikoro, because each time they attack Munya and Shiroro, they also extend to part of Paikoro local government. So more than some communities there are also been affected, and they have left. Some of them now staying in Paikoro, some of them moving down to Shiroro side. They are considered safe to stay with their relations. And Motundia that was attacked yesterday, their secondary school also served as a temporary IDP camp where most of them, even though some of them have not been provided for a long time by government, they have found it comfortable to stay there now. Yesterday's attack has now dislodged the IDPs there now, who would again move down to Mia.
Okay, thank you very much, Abubakar, for these updates. And that's been Daily Trust correspondent in Mina, the Niger State capital, Abubakar Akote.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Larry, you have had these updates from Niger State. How do you feel? What is your thoughts on this very, I'm sure, debilitating security situation?
Anytime I'm on program and I have opportunity to talk about security issue, I'm always feel bad because the level we find ourselves today, we are not supposed to be there in terms of insecurity. Now, this is not banditry now. This is terrorism attack. Terrorism attack, they made us understand that it's only reside in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Now, this is Niger State, not far from even the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. So, I can only appeal to the people in power that they should do what they can do as a matter of urgency. We begin to have a series of IDPs across our land. In Nasarawa, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Borno, IDPs. Even up to Niger Republic. So please, I just appeal to them. Let us look for a lasting solution. I've provided a lot of solution on this, on security issue, but I discovered that we seem not to move forward. This is pathetic.
Okay. All right, and I think with that, we have come to the end of the newspaper review for today. Thank you so much, Public Affairs Analyst Lanre Oluwani, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick breather, and when we come back at the top of the hour, the show continues.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve their sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency. Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
The rains are here again. Floods are ravaging. Why? As residents of FCT, we have made some wrong choices. Dumping refuse in water channels, building on waterways, damaging water lines. The consequences of flooding can be devastating. Lives are lost, properties are damaged, people are displaced, farmlands are destroyed. Don't make the wrong choices. Don't build on floodplains. Don't dump refuse in waterways. Don't damage water lines. Clear all refuse in waterways around your premises. Together, we can safeguard lives and property. Do the right thing now. For emergencies, please call 112 or 122. This message is from the FCT Emergency Management Agency, FEMA.
Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak on Trust TV. It is Monday, the 16th of May, 2022. Thank you for joining us. I am Abdulaziz.
And I'm Dashan Husseina Osman. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the headlines. Tension grips residents as terrorists take over communities around Niger State capital.
Soludo visits Nnamdi Kanu, calls for restoration of peace in Anambra State.
I have not resigned, says Amechi.
Now, the details. Terrorists have reportedly taken over communities between Motundaya and Gunu in Sorikim Power Road, Munya local government area of Niger State. These communities are about 20 kilometers from the state capital, Mina. Speaking on the latest attack, a resident, Shehu Abubakar, told our correspondent that attackers operated at Chibani, Kuchi, and Injita on Gwada axis when communities were still observing their early morning prayers. He said they operated unchallenged from around 5:30 a.m. till around 11 a.m. The terrorists were said to have later moved to communities between Motundaya and Ganu, 10 minutes drive from Mina, the state capital. Commenting on the incident, a resident said, "No place is safe for us again. Motundaya community is where many of our women ran due to previous attacks. Motundaya to Mina will just take you 10 minutes at least and is presently under attack by terrorists," he said. Travelers plying Gunu, Motundaya, Gwada, Sarikim Power, and adjoining villages were trapped as the road was reportedly unsafe on Sunday morning. Motundaya is also the town connecting Kuta, the headquarters of Shiroro local government, Gwada and Zumba, housing camps with hundreds of internally displaced persons from Munya and Shiroro local government areas.
The Anambra State Governor, Charles Soludo, on Friday visited the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The governor, whose visit was part of a wider consultation with critical stakeholders in search of lasting peace and security in the southeast, said that the IPOB leader was in very high spirit. Nnamdi Kanu, who expressed sadness over the loss of lives and properties in the southeast, called for the restoration of peace in the state. He described the numerous deaths as sacrilegious killings of innocent persons, kidnappings, and all forms of criminalities, including the brutal enforcement of the senseless sit-at-home perpetrated by sundry groups claiming to be acting for or on behalf of IPOB. The IPOB leader noted that if the opportunity arises, he will be glad to personally broadcast to his followers to maintain the peace.
Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi says he is still a member of the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. Amechi, who is among 10 ministers from Buhari's cabinet whom Buhari bade farewell on Friday, announced this in Kaduna on Sunday, after the valedictory session held for ministers who are eyeing elective seats in the 2023 general elections, 2 of those who were part of the session backtracked, while Chris Ngige, the Minister of Labor and Employment, who had declared interest in succeeding Buhari, withdrew from the presidential race. Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General of the Federation, also opted out of the Kebbi governorship race. On his part, Amechi said he will resign on Monday. He told delegates of the state that he's young and the most experienced of all the presidential aspirants, adding that the presidency requires agility of a young man, hence the elderly people should go home and rest. And that's it about on the news summary. With this, we take a short break and take some more reports when we come back.
One of the easiest ways of identifying a person is by their names. The importance of this means of identification makes it imperative that once a child is born, they're given one. In this report, Trustee Vice Kabir Lawal examines the importance of names and its significance. The report.
To many, names are just an identification tag that carries no more significance or effect than naming who the bearer is, while others believe there is more to name that meets the eye. However, in African context, naming is a very important tool used among various cultures to convey certain messages, either to an individual, family members, or a community.
Amarachi means the grace of God. Okay. As a child growing up, I was always sick, so it took grace that I survived. My mom didn't really believe that I would live up to this age. So I feel like it's a name that follows me. The grace of God has always been around me. Well, we should be careful of names. It's just like the words we speak. It goes a long way in the children's life. So just like your words, the names has effect as well.
Some respondents believe that African children also receive a second name believed to be prayers, hope for the future, unnamed expectations, and parental aspirations. Names are also given based on geographic environment, religious beliefs, as well as past experiences. The chosen name may even offer insight into important cultural or socio-political events at that time.
Oh, my name is God's-Glory Omojo.
So what is the meaning of your name?
God's-Glory Omojo is like someone that represents the glory of God. God's glory. Then Omojo means child of God. Then Edibo is servant of God. Edibo is servant of a king. Do you understand? So there are these persons in our village that stands behind the king. So those persons, they call them Edibo. So they are servant of a king. But being born into a Christian family will now change into servant of God because we are standing behind God as his servants. So I feel every parent should just be conscious of giving their child good names that will represent what they really want in their child.
In modern African culture, naming ceremonies are celebrations that formally introduce a child to the world, its community, and announces the infant's name and meanings of the said names.
The name is of paramount importance in our society, which goes a long way to make the bearer good ambassador of the nation. He added that most time individuals change names that will have adverse effects on the bearer.
My name is Said Razak.
Said Razak.
Yeah.
So what is the meaning of your name?
The meaning of my name is, according to what I hear, is Anobi Said, it's prophet of Allah. I have Babatunde.
You have Babatunde?
Yeah.
Why do they call you Babatunde?
It's because my grandpa late. That's why they call me Babatunde.
One classic case of the impact of a name on a person's life is name Good Luck, which many Nigerians believe contributed to the meteoric rise of ex-President Jonathan from political oblivion to the zenith of politics in Nigeria. Kabir Lawal.
Meanwhile, at least 115 internally displaced persons in Nasarawa State have benefited from a distribution of sewing machines as part of creating an alternative means of livelihood for them. At the presentation ceremony in Lafia, the state governor, Abdullahi Slip, explained that the gesture forms part of efforts by the state government to cater for the well-being of the internally displaced persons in the state. The reports.
The distribution, which was a collaboration between the Nasarawa State Government, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Japanese government, drew beneficiaries from the 4 local government areas of Awe, Kiana, Obi, and Doma. The beneficiaries are victims of humanitarian crisis and displaced persons from various IDP camps in the state who have undergone 3 months training in various skills to enable them become self-reliant. Governor Sule explained that the move was to reduce the hardship being faced by the IDPs and to make them have a sense of belonging. While charging the beneficiaries to use the machines properly to enhance their livelihood, Governor Sule also called on other donor agencies and well-meaning individuals to emulate the initiative by the UNDP and the Japanese government to assist internally displaced persons and other vulnerable children.
Let me use the opportunity of the occasion to call on other development partners and philanthropists to emulate this gesture for the gainful employment of our youth and women for the overall benefit of the society, which I believe will serve as their source of income and to make them have a means of livelihood without depending on others for survival.
Representatives of UNDP, Chukwumaume, said his organization, in collaboration with the Japanese government, also have a similar program in the state on agriculture to assist the internally displaced persons to engage in farming.
It's our only way to ensure that persons who have been affected by conflict, Your Excellency, are able to find their faith, empowered economically, given all sorts of skills and training to enable them embark on the journey of self-reliance and economic development.
Director General, Nasarawa State Emergency Management Agency, Zakari Alumaga, explained that the beneficiaries would go home with 1 sewing machine and other accessories as a startup park to set up their small-scale businesses. Speaking on behalf of the beneficiaries, Rita Ayam appreciated Nasarawa State Government, UNDP, and the Japanese government for coming to their aid.
Thank government of Japan and UNDP, whose humanitarian gesture has gone beyond our borders to include us here in Nigeria.
Okay, as the countdown to the 2023 elections continues, northern and southeastern groups have been trading words over who to take over the mantle of leadership following the completion of the 8-year tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. The Igbo Elders Consultative Forum has warned that any attempt to deny the Southeast the chance to produce the 2023 presidency would spell doom for the continued existence of Nigeria. Now, the group, also known as Imeobi Ohaneze Ndibo, at a press conference in Abuja, also warned the ruling All Progressives Congress and the opposition People's Democratic Party not to deny the Southeast region their 2023 presidential tickets, as the corporate existence of the country depends on an Igbo man becoming the next president of Nigeria. The coalition of northern groups, on the other hand, accused members of Igbo Elders Consultative Forum and other groups clamoring for the emergence of a president president of Southeast extraction, saying they're going about their agitation in a wrong manner. The Northern Coalition alleged that the Igbo elders constituted a serious security threat to the country, adding that their recent warning that any attempt to elude the Southeast geopolitical zone of the presidency in 2023 would rupture Nigeria's corporate existence betrayed their desperation. Now, the CNJ therefore called for the immediate arrest and prosecution of IECF members led by former Anambra Governor Chief Chukwuemeka Ezefe for threatening the nation, its institutions, and its people. Now, joining us in the studio this morning to give us more perspectives on the issue is spokesperson of the Coalition of Northern Groups, Abdulaziz Suleiman. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Daybreak today.
So, okay. Abdulaziz, you have reacted to what the Igbo group said regarding the 2023 presidential race. But some people feel that the North is being selfish, and you are defending that selfishness of the North by insisting that the Igbo should not insist on having the presidency.
No, not really selfish, because I don't think in democracy there is any provision for a certain region to make it compulsory that power must shift to its people. For instance, we are worried that the South is, they are not only looking for a president from the Southeast, which is also undemocratic, but they are asking for an ethnic president, clearly asking for an Igbo president. And by their action, the fear is that they have lost every trust they can no longer be entrusted with power, because you don't pose as a threat and think you will be trusted with power. You see, we are concerned because these threats are coming from not only ordinary groups, but leaders of thought of the Southeast. These are people who are supposed ordinarily to be diplomatic and cautious. But when leaders begin to threaten the entire country, the continued existence of a country, and still believe they will be trusted with power, it becomes curious. You see, we are not only talking about why are we not talking about the Southwest? Because when the Southwest also tried to make it a must, we challenged them. Now they have opted for the democratic option of allowing due process. You see, it's not a question. Now, if they talk about fairness and justice, and we believe their interpretation of fairness in this context is warped, is one-sided. Because if you are talk about justice and fairness, since 1999, when with the inception of this current dispensation, I think the North only had the opportunity to rule. If Buhari completes these 8 years, that will be 10 years. From 1999, there was a brief takeover by the North for 2 years with Umaru Yar'Adua, and whatever zoning arrangement was agreed on, which has all along been controversial, must have been laid to rest by the insistence of the South to contest in 2011. They contested in 2011 when it was clearly supposed to be the turn of the North. So they must have breached whatever rule of fairness they are talking about now. As far as we are concerned, the zoning arrangement, controversial as it were, had been dead and buried since 2011. And now they want to revive it, and they blame the North. You see, our concern is that when the Southeast wants to agitate, they single out the North for blame, because they specifically, the Igbo elders specifically warned their politicians not to pick a northerner.
So sorry, we'd have to actually cut you short here. We'll take a quick breather and we'll be right back.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
Welcome back. We apologize for that quick break in transmission. Just before we went on a break, we were speaking to the spokesperson of the Coalition of Northern Groups, Abdulaziz Suleiman. And right now we have joining us in the studio a representative of the Igbo Elders Forum, talking about the Secretary of the Igbo Elders Consultative Forum, Professor Charles Nwekeku. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, so just before that break, we actually caught you short. But one question I actually also want to ask is, you know, despite all that, why call for the arrest of some of the Igbo elders?
Yeah, you see, because of the utterances were inflammatory and inciting. Because as elders, like I said, they were expected to be cautious, to be diplomatic at least, and not to have gone that far as to threaten crisis, conflicts, and even a breakaway, because they said they would consider Biafra if they were not given the presidency. And like we said, we were compelled to react because their agitation was much more concentrated against the North, not against. I think, to be fair and just, if they have any grudge or complaint, they should direct it to the South, West, and South, because even the controversial agreement in the PDP, zoning agreement in the PDP, states that the rotation should be between the North and the South, and the South has had several years of power being shifted to it, but they denied the Southeast. It's not the North that denied the Southeast, it's the South that denied the Southeast and preferred the Southwest and the South. But whenever they want to agitate, they point at the North. And now, okay, talking about they combined the two parties. I think even the zoning agreement that is yet to be clarified is only binding on the PDP and not the APC. The APC has never had that agreement. This is the first time they are coming to power, and they might not be bound, they might not be compelled to but that is what the Igbo elders were saying. They were talking about the two parties, that they must. You see, to use the word must, compulsion in a democracy is really threatening.
It says that you don't shave a man's head in his absence. Now that we have Professor Nwekeku, Prof, what is the onus of this, your call? Can you tell us why in the first place, and what is your demand in summary?
Thank you so much. I think I want to commend you for extending your invitation to me as the Secretary of Igbo Elders Consultative Forum. I think maybe there was a communication gap from the point of Abdulaziz. I don't think he got the Igbo elders correct. Number one, the Igbos are saying that for long they have been marginalized in the governance of Nigeria. Despite the sacrifices they have made, their contributions, immense contribution to the unity, progress, and development of Nigeria. Now, you see, before independence, let me highlight on this thing. Before independence, when Chief Antonio Nahoro moved a motion for self-independence for Nigeria, that was in 1956, that Nigeria should be self-independent by 1957. The northern region wasn't ready then. It was an Igbo man, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was the leader of NCNC, that came in and said, look, we needed the North. We needed every person. I said, look, that motion should stay. Let's wait for the whole country to be ready. That was a wonderful contribution because the North wanted to secede then. You can find out. Two, in the 1960 election, the independence election, there was a stalemate on the appointment of Prime Minister because the MPC didn't win, that is enough seats. NCNC didn't win, Action Group didn't win. So who becomes the Prime Minister? It was again the NCNC led by Zeke that came and said, look, let's have one Nigeria, a united Nigeria. Appoint a Prime Minister from Northern People's Congress. Sardauna Osokoto was to become the Prime Minister because he was the leader of the party. But he ceded the position to his lieutenant, Tafawa Balewa. You see another contribution. Now, if you also come, 1979, the election of 1979. Now, NPN, led by Shehu Shagari, won 5-point-something million votes, about 5.7 million votes. Then, I'm summarizing, I'm justifying why the Igbos are asking, is their time. Now, the Action UPN, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, won about 4.8 million votes. The Nigerian People's Party, led by Zeke, won 4.2 million votes. Awolowo had actually come for the two parties to see. If they had mind, Shahare wouldn't have been president. But for the unity of Nigeria, Zeke again, who was the leader of MPP, said, look, instead of merging with the brothers in the West, let's merge with the North. And that was how they formed the federal government. I can keep on. Even in 1999, you know, when the military was there, an Igbo, an illustrious Igbo saw was the one who spearheaded the formation of Group 34 that eventually metamorphosed into PDP.
Okay.
And then at the time he was about to pick the ticket. Now, because of the cancellation, the annulment of June 1993 election, believed to have been won by Chief MKO Abiola, and then they said, look, let's compensate the West. The Igbo lost again. So these are some of the contributions. Even recently, I can keep on mentioning. And then if you come to Nigerian governance, out of 60, by 2023, Nigeria would have been, by 67 years, Northeast has governed Nigeria for 23 years. 6 years under Tafawa Balewa, 6 years. Northwest, 23 years. North Central, 18 years, totaling 47 years. Southwest, when you come to Southwest has governed Nigeria for basically about 12 years under Obasanjo as a military head of state and the civilian. And now South, 6 years. Southeast is only 6 months. And we are saying for the sake of peace, equity, and fairness, this time is the turn of the Southeast. And see, why I said threat, we said based on the information available to us, the youths are restless. The youth said the elders are not talking. and that they will no longer take it, that they will no longer want to be slaves in Nigeria and confederation.
Okay.
And so we are saying, if Southeast is denied opportunity this time, we may not control what will happen.
All right,
we're not threatening any person. We are appealing that our brothers in the North, we are not intimidating any person. We are not threatening any person.
It's not a threat.
They should consider this for the sake of peace.
Okay.
Justice and
Mr. Charles.
And let the Southeast produce this time.
Okay, Mr. Charles, now the PDP has actually thrown its ticket open,
Yes.
you know, despite, you know, the APC, you know, leaning towards zoning in the South.
Yes.
What is the position of the forum on this decision?
Yes. Equally, what PDP has done is bad. First is that PDP has zoning arrangement in its constitution. Even APC, because let me quote the federal 1999 constitution, from which every other agencies and this thing derive their this thing. Section 14, subsection 3 of 1999 constitution states that whatever government of the federation or its agencies will do must be done to reflect the federal character of Nigeria in order to give every section a sense of belonging. By this very provision, because Constitution takes precedence, it is also binding on APC and other parties that they should reflect the federal character of Nigeria. And this federal character of Nigeria is being reflected in other things. That's why when you take JAMB, you see somebody from Southeast scoring 270, the person will miss admission. And you see somebody scoring 120 from some other parts, getting admission is everywhere. Every person knows this. In recruitment into the public service, the same thing. Because when you go to every exam, recruitment, promotion, the same thing. So we have been applying federal character in everything. Therefore, it is binding on every person, every organization, every agency in Nigeria to reflect that federal character. So what APC, PDP has thrown it open. PDP has forgotten the immense contributions the Southeast made. Since 1999, Southeast has remained constant PDP state. I have been voting for PDP. Despite the fact that it was a source from Southeast that spearheaded the formation of PDP. So if PDP goes ahead and this ticket eludes the Southeast and the South, that would be a bye-bye for PDP in the South.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Prof.
Wait, as I'm talking.
We'll come back to you if you hold on a bit. Suleiman, you've heard him. Yeah. And so why is it difficult for, especially with all this history, historically, as he points out, the North has always been an ally of the Southeast. What is happening? What has changed over time?
You see, it's quite true that our traditional political friends were the Southeast. And there was a fantastic arrangement during the First Republic, which was inadvertently scuttled by the Southeasterners themselves. They scuttled that arrangement and lost the trust of the North because their action mostly affected the Northern leadership at that time. So they inadvertently lost the trust of the North from that from the end of the First Republic. Now we came all along, and I think the North made two overtures. I think twice the North picked the vice president from the Southeast. Buhari had two Southeastern vice presidents, but the Southeast in particular refused to vote that party. So they refused to vote their own man to become vice president and chose to vote a party that fielded a non-Southeasterner as president and another non-Southeasterner as vice. So you can see they appear not to know really what they want, and we are not saying they should not agitate, but if you are going to agitate, you should point at Nigeria as a whole, not single out the North, because as it is now, the Southeast is singling out the North, mentioning the North and cautioning or warning their politicians not to pick rally base from the North, as if it's the North that has been denying them the right to become president. We all believe that politics is about persuasion, it's about presenting your credentials, and that's what we've been saying, that we would not mind anybody who can convince us, who can convince, who would come for our votes, but you can't compel us, you can't threaten us, you can't intimidate us. We're not going to give in to that. But what the Southeastern leaders did recently absolutely points to a threat and intimidation, because to threaten a country that you cannot control your youth when your region is not given the presidency is blatant.
Okay, now, Mr. Charles, what other options are there for the Southeast if presidency eludes them and, if they lose out on the 2023
in the first place, let me
election?
correct his wrong impression. He said that the Southeast caused a mistrust. He hasn't explained the mistrust. The Southeast had never caused any mistrust. If he's referring to the 1966 coup, it wasn't an Igbo coup. They were from all parts of the country, even from Kaduna. Go and find out. It wasn't an Igbo coup, but it's just that it was dubbed Igbo coup, if he's referring to that. Two, that Southeastern refused to vote for Buhari. Yes, in 2003, Buhari used our son, I think, Chief Edwin Umezoke as the running mate. And then subsequently, he used Chubokadi as a running mate. I can tell you authoritatively that as an Igbo, the Igbos never met, say we are not going to vote for this. But the Igbos are business-oriented. Igbos were the candidates and felt that the Buhari is a pure military man. They needed somebody that would do business. After all, it's Atiku Abubakar not from the north. The Igbos voted massively because they knew that Atiku is a successful businessman. They voted for him. The Igbos have nothing against Buhari, has nothing against the north. Even this one he's saying the north. The Igbos have never said the north has done this. The Igbos are saying, Nigerians, please, this is the turn of the southeast. Zone, first of all, zone this thing to the south. And it's not only the southeast that is saying it. Remember, the Southern Governance Forum has said the presidency should be zoned to the south. The Southern and Middle Belt Forum has said the presidency should be zoned to not just south, southeast. Aferi southwest, the leader, Chifaya Debanja, has said, he even openly said, the people from the south were contesting for president should step down, that he should be zoned to the southeast.
But sir, at the same token,
Edwin Clark,
I'm just going to write on that, sir.
Yes.
At the same token, Chief Rap Waziriki last week said that the Igbo aspirants aspiring for the presidency are jokers, that they are just, they are positioning themselves for vice presidency. What is...
We have called him. I think he said he was misquoted. He said he was misquoted. He has uncorrected that. He said that he was misquoted. Because,
but if you said so, I think what he said, sir.
Wait,
no, I'm just going
when Chief Wazirike was detained, the Igbo leaders came and signed for his release. So Igbo leaders have summoned him, and he said he was misquoted. And if somebody denies what you attribute, you don't need to kill the person. Wazirike has long said he did it, he was misquoted. So coming to the option you are talking of, and so equally, let me also correct my friend. He said we were appointed at the north. Middle Belt is not part of the north. The leader of Middle Belt has said zone the presidency to southeast. Dr. Butrus Pogu. Is Middle Belt not part of the north? So we are not accusing any person specifically. North has not. There are Alhaji Yakas has said, is he not a northerner? He has said zone the presidency to the south. I can keep on mentioning that. Buba Galadima has said zone the presidency to the southeast. Are they not northerners? So it is wrong for my friend to say.
But sir, there are sayings that you don't dash power. I agree with you. People go for it. And that is why even what Wazirike said, even though you say he
denied it.
Excuse me, sir, even though you say he denied it, it's not far from what some people are saying.
Yes.
That they have not, the Igbo politicians or Igbo people from that area have not demonstrated enough seriousness that they are really going for this.
Whoever is saying it is not honest. And let me explain to you. Power is not given to any person. But there are things that help to acquire power. In the context of Nigeria, we have structural imbalance. Remember, Nigeria, by independence, had 3 regions: Western region, Eastern region, Northern region. But today, Northern region has 19 states plus FCT. So that means if you go to Senate, the North has 58 senators plus that of FCT 59 against the South. So Southeast you're talking of, we are in just 5 states. We have only 15 senators. House of Representatives, the same thing. Local government, the same thing. So the structural imbalance you have has made it difficult for Southeast to contest and win it, because we are talking of delegates now. Other things being equal, the delegates from the North will be by far more than what is coming from the South. Therefore, if you throw it open, even if you have, among all these aspirants, tell me who is better than Peter Obi of Anambra State? Who is better than Oboniono? We have many wonderful presidential aspirants, but because of the structural imbalance, if you throw it open, you've already put us in a disadvantaged position. So you can see that one region now has, if you have 19 states from FCT, 20. So by far more than the South put together. So that structural imbalance is our major constraint. Apart from that, remember, in 1999, because of the injustice believed to have been done to the Southwest by the annulment of the election, believed to have been won by Chief MK Abiola, that 1993 election, it was said, look, let's compensate the South. That was why even if Weme decided, let's leave it for the Southwest. That was why the 2 parties fielded people from Southwest, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and Chief Olufale. So that whether you talk of the head or the tail, it favored the Southwest. So others didn't. As at then, Oboniono was the candidate of ANPP, but he decided to step down. An Igbo man again, he sacrificed it to accommodate our brothers in the Southwest, to appease them. So we are saying that what is good for the geese is the good for the gander. Okay. We've demonstrated that for the North, we've demonstrated that for the West, we've demonstrated that for other parts of Nigeria. This is the time to demonstrate the same thing to the Southeast.
All right, let me forward the next question to Mr. Abdulaziz here. Now, do you think, it is still rational to sustain what some people, term as turn-by-turn leadership concept, or do you think, the presidency should be given based on merit?
That is more ideal. The ideal situation should be a leader coming out on merit. But due to the complexities of Nigeria and the need to manage our diversity, the issue of perhaps considering rotation wouldn't have been a bad idea. That is, if it is implemented in a decent manner. We all know that at some point the Southwest played the same mistake by refusing to come on stream. You understand? They were not playing mainstream politics, they are playing regional politics, just the way the South is doing right now. But at a point, they decided to come on stream, and you can see the Southwest is now playing national politics and not regional politics. You see, if we go back a bit to what he said as misinformation or misunderstanding, I think we are all aware of the desperation to write, review, and change the narratives over the 1966 incident. But that's a question for another day. And I still insist that we are not mistaken when we say that the Southeast leaders specifically warned their politicians not to pick a northerner as running mate, which is really worrying. Why single out the North? If you are talking about the whole of Nigeria, that Nigeria owes you something, why the North? That's what we are saying. So if elders, these are elders, if it were just ordinary groups, perhaps we may not have cared to react, but these are elders who are supposed to be listened to, who are supposed to build bridges, making such utterances. So we felt we really had to respond to them, which was why we said that was threatening and frightening and will not be accepted.
So, Abdulaziz, the Northern President, President Muhammadu Buhari, is just about to complete 8 years. Shouldn't it be only fair for another person from another region to succeed Buhari after an 8-year stretch?
Of course it would be fair, but then it has to be democratically done. It has to be by persuasion, not by intimidation. That's what we are saying. Anybody can come from any other region so long as he is competent. We consider him to be competent, capable of getting Nigeria out of its limitations. But we don't see any reason why a leader should come from just through regional consideration or sectional consideration or ethnic consideration.
Well, you have actually said that the Igbos cannot be trusted with the presidency.
Yeah, with the way they are going. You see, for people that have taken up arms about 3 times against the state, and people who still threaten other parts of the country, we are all aware of the threats issued by IPOB. We are all aware of the attacks on government institutions and symbols of the federal government carried out in the southeast. So that actually naturally has deprived them of the trust of most Nigerians.
Isn't something similar happening in the north as well?
No, not really. Not really. Not really. The north has never threatened to break away at the slightest of pretenses. But the issue of the southeast is clear. There's no ambiguity there. For 60 years, they have been agitating for an out. For 60 years. And in most cases, they go violent. So you can see it's not our fault. We used to be friends.
Let me come back to Prof. Yes. Some people actually say that a major undoing of Igbo leaders is that when these agitations started, especially what has happened, especially in 2011, I mean in 2021, yes. Last year around this time, when the tension was very high, that a lot of you leaders did not come out to really address the issue or even call these young people to order before, and that's why a lot of people see it as if you are trying to blackmail the country into submission. What do you
Thank you so much. Before that, let me correct a wrong impression. Number one, he said that things should be first that Igbo elders advise their people not to pick a running mate from the north. It is wrong. It is not true. Igbo elders said, look, our politicians, we don't want you to be running mate to any person. It's either you are a candidate or let's remain like that. We don't want you to be running mate. So it is a wrong information. Wait, because look at Nigeria today. What's the exchange rate of Naira? It's over 580. Yeah. Over 580.
Nearly 600.
Wait. You see the exchange of Naira? There's insecurity everywhere. If you mention your place now, you know you can't go to your place free. So now business has collapsed. Multinationals are leaving Nigeria. The unemployment is sorry. So there's crime rate has gone up. Unemployment has gone up. We are saying that the Igbos are good managers. Let an Igbo son come and restore Nigeria's dignity. If an Igbo becomes the president, the exchange rate of Naira will come down. The Igbos, if there's any group that want one Nigeria, it is the Igbos. If you go to your place, the Igbos are investing. A person that is using his money to invest in your place wants one Nigeria. So if Yakas, Abdulaziz, if I know your place, go to your place, remove the indigenous, the next people there are Igbos. People that are using their private money, resources to invest in your place, you said that they don't want one Nigeria. And let me also remind you, not to threaten to secede from Nigeria before even independence. Go and check history. Not once, not twice, up to 3 times. Go and check history. So the North was defeated.
So we're talking of contemporary issues.
No. He said,
because we don't have time.
He said that the Igbos are threatening. Igbo has never threatened to leave Nigeria because Igbos have used their personal money to invest in every part of Nigeria. The Igbos want one Nigeria more than any other ethnic group in Nigeria. And so now, the merit he's talking of, I don't know how you define merit. You go to GCE, you see that the Igbos will come top. Go to JAMB, Igbos come top. Go to any public exams, Igbos come top. When it comes to leadership, you are talking of merit. If merit is by standard, we know it. The Igbos will have it first because they will do it. But we have structural imbalance that put us in a disadvantaged position. And we are saying, even this democracy is talking of, we compensated the Southwest. And democracy was there. That doesn't diminish the quality of people that came out.
Mr. Charles,
so we are saying
quickly,
Nigeria should give the Southeast a chance. We produce a wonderful president that will restore the dignity of Nigeria.
Just quickly, let me go back to my previous question that you didn't answer. Talking about what other options are there for the Igbos if presidency eludes them, and how do you reconcile the calls for Igbo presidency and the calls for secession?
Yes, first is that I believe very sincerely that the presidency will not elude us. We are working hard. The presidency will not, the next president of Nigeria is going to be of Southeast extraction by the special grace of God. It will not elude us. Second, we are saying, like you said, the elder didn't, you asked me, you said that the elder didn't caution the youths. Do you know that the President General of Ohanes Ndigbo, his house was burnt by angry youths?
I mean, at the right time when this started.
This thing happened? No, we did. We did. But the truth is that no person has been able to pimp. IPOB has washed their hands clean. They have no hands in what is happening in the Southeast. What is happening in the Southeast, it was designed by people who do not want us to produce president, because all these things are being happening. They have not arrested any person and say it's an IPOB member. Okay. Look at when the Owerri Correctional Center was invented.
Time is actually not on our side right now. Thank you so much. We wish we actually had more time to discuss this. Thank you so much. But we'll definitely do this again. Thank you so much, spokesperson of Coalition of Northern Groups, Abdulaziz Suleiman, for joining us in the studio, and also Secretary of the Igbo Elders Consultative Forum, Professor Charles Nwekeku. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, with that, we'll wrap up the show, but we'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same station. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for staying with us. I am Abdulaziz. See you tomorrow at 6.